Hi everyone, it's Stephanie here and welcome to MFT Camp Create 2021. We are going to be sharing videos all week long with different techniques each day, and every day you can take part and do the technique on your own cards for a chance to win. So let's go ahead and kick things off with shaker cards. Shaker cards are super popular and I'm sure a lot of you have made them in the past. One of my favorite ways to make a shaker card is to create them with a word die. So I'm going to be using this new Hello Sunshine die. You can see I've die cut it from a panel of white cardstock. And my plan for this card is to create kind of a striped rainbow effect. And I want to create the shaker just behind the word sun. That word is nice and big, so we're going to be able to see the sequins in behind there. So I'm going to keep the hello and the shine just with stripes and do the shaker part in the sun word. So to create the shaker card, I'm going to use a piece of acetate and we're going to adhere this to the back of our white cardstock panel that we've die cut the word Hello Sunshine from. So I've used some score tape and I put it around the entire edge of the acetate. This piece is cut slightly smaller than my white card base so that it doesn't show around the edges. And I'm going to peel off all of the backing pieces. Now before I actually adhere this down onto the card, I'm going to take some liquid glue and I'm going to go around all of the letter areas. And this is just so that I grab all of those small pieces and make sure that they adhere to the acetate as well. I don't want them to kind of be able to lift up on the front of the card. So by doing this, it adheres all those little pieces and I don't end up with a gluey mess because I'm using a really nice fine glue pen that doesn't emit a lot of glue when I add it to the panel. So once I have the glue on there, I just went ahead and added that acetate piece on and I'm pressing down really firmly to make sure that all of that glue is adhering down to the acetate. And now you can see we have this great window that we can use to work on to create the rest of the card. And as you can see, I already have all of my rainbow colors picked out, so I trimmed them down into strips and now I'm cutting them shorter so that they fit in behind that panel. And I'm going to be adhering them to the back of this right over top of where the acetate is. So I'm just adding some adhesive to the ends of these little strips here, and then I'm going to line them up and position them in behind the hello word as well as the shine word. Now since hello is the shortest word, I decided to use the two colors there, which worked out perfectly because then I could use the yellow in behind the word sun. So I just layered these and butted them up right against each other so there's no space. And then you can see when I flip it over that we have the pink and then the orangish color right underneath of it. The sun I'm going to do after we're done all of these colors because that's going to be the shaker portion. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere the blue, the green, and the purple. And I did adhere the blue first right in the center and then lined up the green and the purple on either side. So now you can see we are forming that cool rainbow in behind those letters. Now for the word sun, I used lemon drop cardstock. And what I'm doing is I'm adding some foam adhesive around the edges of this panel. I made sure when I cut it out that it's going to be big enough so that when I put the foam adhesive on, we're not going to see it and we're just going to see that yellow cardstock in behind the word sun. So what I want to do is I want to fill this up with some shaker material. So I'm going to use some yellow sequins as well as some clear and gold, and I'm going to add them into this little kind of area that we created within that foam tape. You want to make sure that your foam tape doesn't have any gaps anywhere or the sequins will fall out. So you want to make sure you kind of butt it right up against each other. I prefer to remove the adhesive backing from the adhesive before I add the sequins just so that I don't kind of have an issue where when I'm removing it, I kind of knock all the sequins out. So you can do this either way. And what I like to do is just take a tiny spoon and kind of use that to pick up the sequins and add them in. I find it's just a little bit easier and I have more control than trying to do it with my fingers. Once I've added in the sequins, I just use the spoon to kind of spread them around to make sure I don't have any kind of stacked on top of each other. You want to make sure that they're going to be able to move freely within that space. And then once I have that all set up, I'm going to go ahead and take the panel and I'm just going to kind of eyeball it and make sure I have it centered in behind there. And then I'm just going to lay it on top and press down really firmly. And what this is going to do is just adhere that top panel to the little yellow piece that we've created, and it's going to seal those sequins in behind the word sun as well as that yellow cardstock. So the back kind of looks like a hot mess, but when you flip it over, we have this really pretty rainbow design where we have the shaker card in the sun word, and then we have the rest of the rainbow in stripes throughout the other two words that make up the entire greeting. Once the panel is complete, we have created most of the card already, so we're just going to go ahead and create a card base that we're going to add this to. I'm going to use an A2 size card, which is 5.5 by 4.25, and I just used my score buddy to go ahead and score that in half and crease that fold down. My panel is cut smaller so that I have a little bit of a border in behind. So to adhere this down, I need to add some more foam adhesive. Since that yellow piece has the foam adhesive in between the layers, it's higher up than the rest of the panel. So I went ahead and added that same foam adhesive to the rest of the panel to really cover it up. I didn't want any parts of it to kind of press down in, so I made sure to fully cover the whole back. And then I'm going to adhere this right onto our card base. I love the kind of dimension you get by having the whole panel lifted up and having that shaker portion kind of inset down under the word. And I really love the look of having that little bit of white border around the edge. Now you can leave the card as is and call it done, but I decided to add a secondary sentiment as well. I always love the look of a black cardstock strip against any kind of a card that has colorful areas on it. So I decided to create a little sentiment strip that I can add to it. So it says "You're the best," which is from the Itty Bitty Basics stamp set. I love these little itty bitty stamp sets. They create the tiniest little sentiments that work perfectly in small spaces. So I added that onto black cardstock with Versamark ink, heat embossed it with white embossing powder, die cut it with the coordinating Itty Bitty Strips Die-namics, and adhered it right over the word sun. And then to finish it off, I decided to add a few more sequins kind of scattered around the sentiment. So I just used my liquid glue, added them on there with my tweezers, and now I'm just pressing down to make sure that they are firmly adhered. And now we have a completed shaker card. So this is just one way that you can create a shaker card. You can use the large word portion. You could have done it behind all of the words. There are so many different ways that you can incorporate shaker elements into your card designs. And that is your homework for today's session of camp. We want to see your shaker cards however you want to make them, with words, images, however you prefer. And make sure to head to the blog post. I'll have everything linked in the video description below so that you can enter your cards and see how you can win throughout this week. Thank you so much for joining me for day 1 of Camp Create, and I will see you tomorrow for another camp lesson.